Perfect.
So, good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Ilka Gomez. I'm project manager at Rootcamp. We want to welcome you to the expert talk towards climate smart livestock, which is part of a series of events organized by Rootcamp and its partners through the EU-funded Be Life project. So we are pleased to have here our panelists, Mr. Gereon Schulze from Tönnies Group, Paul Costello from Costello Farming, and Mauricio Agudelo from Biotech. So before giving the floor to our experts, I would like to invite Philip Rittershaus, our managing director at Rootcamp, to brief us about the work of Rootcamp and tell us a bit more about this project, the Be Life project. So Philip, the floor is yours.
Many thanks, Ilka. So also from my side, many thanks for participating in this webinar and this expert talk. Let me just introduce Rootcamp a little bit and why we are actually doing such a program. So Rootcamp, we consider Rootcamp being an innovation hub in the field of agri-tech and bioeconomy. And today's agenda is that we first present why we are actually doing this, as I said, and what is about the Be Life project, and our experts that Ilka just introduced very shortly will then have short introductions and explain a little bit and tell a little bit about their perspective and about themselves. Then we go into the main part, the questions and the answers. So the panel of discussing actually the challenges of the actual livestock industry, and at the end we want to open the discussion and wrap it up a bit. Again, a little bit more about Rootcamp. So Rootcamp is so far mainly driven by private capital. So we partner with the industry and are scouting startups for the industry and try to bring industry and startups together. So K+S, so Kali and Salt and potash fertilizer producer is our initiating partner, but we also have KWS as seed producer, SKW as a nitrogen producer, and as Ilka already said, is also Smart Agri Hub, so the German Agri-Food Society. These are partners for the actual Be Life project that we started to focus more on the livestock segment. In addition to these partners, we also have regional partners based in Hanover. So Hanover and Puls is the economic support agency here. Eurotier is the upcoming very large livestock marketplace fair, and Agritechnica will focus on the AgTech scenery more in the next year. Both are big fairs that take place in Hanover. On the other side, you see on the left side, our partner accelerator based in Leipzig, they focus more on energy infrastructure and digital health, and also they have a quite large surrounding of partners where they are acting as the neutral institution between startups and corporates. Our focus is the AgTech and bioeconomy, so everything that brings actually the raw materials towards the food chain or the feed chain, but also in terms of sustainability, we try to just increase the efficacy and the efficiency in the agri-food value chain, and that mainly by using biological sourced materials or using biological processes. Sure, in the AgTech field, it's also industry and digitalization. So we cover the whole thing. We call it the upstream side of the agri-food value chain. Our main focus is actually bring the right information for enabling the right strategic discussions and the decisions. So what we offer is creation, so internal inspiration. We offer also the inspiration from the external sources. That is mainly young startups bringing new ideas and showing actually what the scenery of the industry might be in 5 or 10 years. And we are also focusing more and more on validation. So existing innovations, later stage startups offer solutions, and we try to validate them in the way that they are available also for the globally sized corporates. This is in a little bit more detail. So what we always offer is a first phase. We either do a program like Kickbox for ideation of entrepreneurial ideas, or we have an acceleration batch for the young startups, or shown in blue, a startup camp where we bring the corporates and the larger startups, or the more established startups and the established products together. And after this initiating phase, we always want to bring or show how the innovation is being applicable in the industrial environment. So we typically start a pilot project where we have in the first phase had the concept of it. We have another funding budget for this pilot projects already set by our partners. And then we try to catalyze the cooperation between the startups and the corporates to an extent where both sides are actually knowing each other good enough. They know what is in for them, and so that they can turn into the bilateral cooperation, increase the portfolio of the corporate, make new products for the startups or any other corporation. And our role as a catalyst actually enables this cooperation, since no bilateral corporates or bilateral contracts are needed. Combined, we always try to bring the right information towards the decision makers. And whenever a program is not running well, we can cut it off earlier. So it's a stage gate process. And ideally, we go through the whole process and have enough information for the corporate partner typically to actually support further research or further development. And we already have a successful project completed where in the aquaculture way, a new product for actually saltwater production is being now brought to the market. Our startups that we are educating, our acceleration batch, is quite a broad variety already. You can see the logos here. You can also see on our website what these startups are actually doing. And over the time you see that we had quite a broad topics. Biotech up on the biotechnology side is presenting here also today. On the other side, we had another focus in the last program looking for carbon farming, with 4 startups presenting here also at our demo days. And the next upcoming topics will be finding new ways in the alternative protein ecosystem or value chain, and also circular economy, looking at organic minerals and recycling also from minerals. This is the team of the Root Camp, so it's not me that's doing the work. It's the stellar team actually coming up with always good ideas and new processes and driving the Root Camp. And now turning into the BeLive, what was the rationale of this BeLive project? Startups from the livestock scene came actually to us and say, so they don't know each other, they don't know actually enough of the industry. The livestock industry is typically very much vertically integrated. And so we applied at the Smart Agri Hubs project for a grant to bring the livestock startup scene a little bit closer together and to actually show best practices and to give appetite on working innovations in the livestock scene, so where startups already applied their innovation. And this is the overview of the project. So we started in the beginning of April, had a first event on collecting challenges in the agri-food in the livestock scene. Their focus was, or the outcome was mainly that it's for data-driven companies or products. The data availability is, at least in Germany, not so good. So we worked on options on how to change that. Then we have already collected a couple of best practices from the startups that we included in our batch. so offered the educational program, and they showed actually how best practices could actually look like. So that was a shout out for us collecting the best practices. That we did till August. We wrapped them up a little and had at the end of August, we had our 1-day, 2 demo days actually, one in the livestock scene and one, as I said, in the calm farming area. And we actually offered the livestock startups to present their best practices to a present crowd. And now we are more or less at the end of the whole project here with the digital expert talk to wrap up and get more expert content on these topics. Here, a short view on the very first project or workshop, where we collected participants from the industry, but also from the startup side. And actually, our connection KPI was 1 to 10. So typically, the participants knew one person that was already in the also in the room and got to know 9 more. So that also showed us that there's a great demand on bringing the whole innovation scenery in the livestock industry more together, and there's a high demand on these events. And then we had, as I said, the best practice webinar where we presented or prepared some of the best practices already as shout out. You can rewatch the video. It's also on our blog page. And this shows actually a picture of our demo day of livestock farming. So we had a full house and actually having more than 8 startups presenting their solutions to the existing industry. So now I'm handing over again to Ilka. She was the drive behind the whole BeLife project from actually grant application till now. And so Ilka, please take over.
Thank you, Philip, for the introduction about Rootcamp and the BeLife project. So now let me put a bit of the context of this expert talk. So as we all know, climate change, environmental degradation, and all these related, let's say, effects are existential threats to Europe and, of course, of the world. So to overcome these challenges, the European Commission, through the Green Deal, has set a series of targets, including to the non-net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. Also helping companies to become, helping them to develop clean products and technologies, and to support the economic growth of the region decoupled from resource uses. So in the context of livestock, several actions have been taken by the different stakeholders within the value chain to contribute to the reduction of the carbon footprint. So, and therefore, I would like to invite our experts to brief us and to share a bit their experiences and thoughts about this topic. So for this, I would like to give the floor to our expert, Schulze Althoff. He's the Director of the Quality Management, Sustainability and Veterinary Affairs of the Tönnies Group. He's a veterinarian specialist for food science and holds a doctorate in agricultural science. His focus has been on sustainability, quality, and safety of food of animal origins for many years. In addition, he is a board member of the German Meat Association. So, Mr. Schulze, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ilka. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can see me. The screen is now frozen, but I hope that you can all see me. Ilka, can you please quickly respond if everything works fine?
We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay.
Okay.
You
can try to share your screen and then let's see.
Yeah, I don't have, well, fine. Well, anyway, I don't have slides with me, so I will talk with you a few minutes to introduce Tönnies. Tönnies is a large European food company, one of the larger ones, specialized mainly in pig processing, but also beef, convenience, sausage, logistics, with operations mainly in Germany, but also in Denmark and the UK, and a bit in Poland and Spain. Myself, I'm a director of quality assurance, and as you said, yes, we know reducing or producing food is also producing emissions. And everybody knows also that it's relevant to feed the people of the world and provide food security. So there is no way to stop or to not to produce food. And though many don't want to hear it, animals are not the problem, but animals are part of the solution. So we need livestock, and we need livestock production. And I'm very happy to be here to develop more smart, livestock raising and smart towards a smarter livestock industry. And you can imagine, as one of the market leaders and the market leader in Germany, we have been a crystallization point for many public debates that are currently existing. You just talked about the Green Deal, Ilka. Not only the Green Deal, but the mainstream narrative is very much against the whole livestock production and against meat or milk or animal proteins. And though we know this is not right, we need animal proteins and we need livestock to make use of resources that humans would not be able to get use of. So as a Tönnies group, we've been very much involved in actions on sustainability to make it more and more systematic and to make our approaches more and more adapted to international norms. In 2011, we have already done a life cycle analysis in order to set up our core priorities on sustainability. In 2018, we have set up a systematic CSR management in order to being able to report according to international reporting standards. And this we have accelerated with a 10-year specific strategic plan in 2020. And right now we are in the process of further accelerating our activities according to international norms. We see two challenges. One is in our core business. It's on resources, water, energy, reducing food waste, and use of all parts of the carcass. But what we also can say, the main point and the main critical point in terms of resource efficiency is, of course, in the scope 3, our scope 3, which is the livestock, it's the feed and the farming. And so we, as a company, in our CSR management, we have to include both parts. On the one hand, care for our staff in resource efficiency in our own boundaries, but also think about how we can support the farmers, how we can support our supply base in order to be more efficient and to be more work more environmental friendly. And in this regard, we see that there is two main points of attention. One is circular thinking, circular economy, and the other is efficiency wherever possible. And this all beyond, well, we have the Astrid Lindgren Bullabü world, but with new technology, with efficiency, with smart people and smart tools that really help us to overcome the climate crisis. Because romantic thinking, going back to the past, as many of our critics do, will not help and will not be the way forward. I come with a few examples. It took, for example, more than 20 years to reintroduce proteins, animal proteins, into the feed base of livestock. After the BSE crisis, there was fear if other species, not only cows and lambs, would be possible to be affected by BSE or by similar diseases. But the omnivores, chicken and pigs, never became affected. And these omnivores have been fed in Europe for more than 20 years on a veggie diet, which is not good for the animal, but also not good for the climate. And this has been reintroduced with a lot of work. And I see also some colleagues in the round from companies, but also industry associations that have really helped there to bring that back to the attention. Other points that we really work is direct with the farmers on antimicrobial resistance to reduce antimicrobial use. We work with the farmers on feeding schemes, and in feeding schemes we have been catalyst to change towards more specific feeding concept in order to reduce protein contents in the different phases of the life by supporting with data from our slaughterhouse. So we see a lot of interaction and a lot of points where we can support with data, with knowledge, and being a catalyst. But we also are very happy to hear any ideas and where we can support small startups, but also initiatives from our suppliers in order to become better. Looking forward to the discussion, and thank you very much.
So thank you to you for this introduction and this sharing your what are you doing in terms of towards the sustainability of the livestock sector. Yes, we know all the challenges. We have heard during our previous events that livestock is part of the agri-food system and is not a solution to just stop producing. So based on that, I would like to invite one farmer today. So we have the honor to have Mr. Paul Costello. He's a successful dairy pig and tillage farmer, been working in Germany, the UK, and Ireland with his family business, with focus on renewable energy and circular economy, which you mentioned before. So Paul was also awarded this year as the dairy farmer in Germany for his innovation and sustainability approach. So we would like to learn more about it. So Paul, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Just the screen. So hello, how are you doing? My name is Paul Costello. I represent the Costello farming business. We're an Irish family with activities primarily in the pig sector. We are farming in Ireland, the UK, and Germany. We are also farming with a dairy farm in Germany using a relatively innovative pasture-based farming model, which has received a lot of good positive feedback from the market, and has won us an award last year for our dairy production. So today, primarily, we just want to talk to you about the strategy and projects that the Costello farming business are taking throughout Europe to improve its sustainability in its livestock sector. And I'll be making a focus directly on the German activities, which is primarily our pig farming business. So in East Germany, in the land Brandenburg, we operate a 3,000 sow farming system, which is a completely closed herd, producing over 70,000 pigs annually. And we're pleased to say we're also a long-term supplier of the Tönnies group. A lot of our pigs would also be sold to the group. Over the past years, the farming model in Germany has, and as well as Europe, has become more and more focused on animal welfare combined with sustainability from a carbon perspective. This has put significant strain on various markets, whether it's the milk market or the pig sector, and farmers are looking for solutions how to address this situation or demands that are coming from the market. So with our farms in Germany and our pig market, we're striving to address these situations by combining our animal welfare model with a renewable energy perspective. Biogas or anaerobic digestion is commonplace in Germany, and a lot of biogas plants have traditionally been set up using the EEG legislation over the last 15 to 20 years. Going forward, the needs of the market, these these digesters are primarily fed using animal manure and energy crops such as maize silage and grain. Going forward, to be from an animal welfare perspective, large commercial herds are finding it more and more difficult to achieve the welfare standards that the market is demanding, and looking at alternative production methods to produce. So we are looking towards changing our model, of which we would re-engineer our existing buildings to allow access to straw-based outdoor enclosures for our pigs, which will, in combination, in the first situation, improve our animal welfare standard. In Germany, there's a rating system called the Haltungsform, and using this upgrade of our farms, we would be able to achieve the highest welfare form available, which is Haltungsform 4, through use of outdoor straw access for our pigs, in combination with regional GFO-free feeding systems. This will hopefully allow us to have a market advantage with the selling of our pigs, giving us a commercial advantage. The environmental aspect of this is linked then with the disposal of the manure. The idea from our farm is to change our biogas plants on the farms from an input stuff of slurry and maize silage to a mixture of animal slurry and dung, animal manure in form of straw. The straw and dung manure is able to achieve and produce biomethane, which can be injected into our national gas grid, which is a very interesting topic at the moment, given the world situation and gas supplies. It's an alternative income to farmers that they can achieve high welfare in combination with carbon reduction. The biomethane that could be produced using these byproducts are classified under the RED II scheme as advanced biofuels, which can achieve a carbon footprint of minus 100 grams minus 100 grams of CO2 equivalent per megajoule of energy injected into the grid. So in summary, for our pig farms, our idea with our project is to improve animal welfare to the Haltungsform 4 requirement, to improve our biogas carbon footprint to a negative carbon footprint of minus 100 grams. We will also power the plant and power the farm using the electricity imported from the on-site photovoltaic system, which on one farm equates to 2,000 megawatt hours every year, and on the other farm is 1,000 megawatt hours. In combination, we can also produce biomethane for the German market, which is helping to reduce the dependency on imported gas at the moment. Our strategy on our dairy farm is somewhat similar in terms of we have started a farm in 2014, which was a traditional commercial indoor-based system using a high input feed system, which is in our view was quite carbon intensive, but also had similar issues to our pig business regarding animal welfare. In 2017, we converted our farm system over to a grass-based model, which again improved the animal welfare conditions of our cows, which brought our Haltungsform in line with Haltungsform 4. We also had a reduction of the amount of imported feeds, such as soya, these high protein based plants, which are often imported. We have reduced that by utilizing the protein that is contained in our grassland. By grazing systems, we can sequester 2 tons of carbon per ton of dry matter grass grown. This equates to over 20 tons of carbon per year, which is sequestered into our land from just grazing alone regardless of the CO2 that is also captured in the milk production itself. There are some CO2 emissions though from cow farming, and that is clear. And because of the less energy requirements that buildings will have, because the cows are outside, we can also reduce our dependency of imported gas and electricity for our systems. So these type of innovative thinkings are our strategy involved to allow us to maintain a competitive advantage in the agricultural market, while also contributing to our carbon cycle and adding to the circular economy story, which is very important in today's business. So that's it for me. I hope that you found a few information interesting, and I'm available for any questions you have. Thank you.
So thank you, Paul, for this interesting presentation and for sharing your model. And yes, what are your innovations, how you are managing your farm in order to reduce the carbon, the gas emissions. So to finish this round of presentation, I would like to invite Mauricio Agudelo. He's the CEO and co-founder of Biotech. Biotech is one of the startups of our batch 3. And just to talk a bit about Mauricio, he's passionate about bioprocess and nutrition. He's an entrepreneur focused on improve the welfare and the sustainability in the protein production. So he will present us his innovation, or the innovation of the Biotech company. And yeah, so Mauricio, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and hello to everyone. So yes, I'm going to quickly introduce our company and what we are doing. In Biotech, we are focused on more production of animal protein with less resources and minimal side effects. So what that means and minimal side effects, our approach is from inside the animals. Our solution rotates around a common element and is the intestine of the animals. For us, we call animal bioreactor. So what we are doing is modeling and controlling the guts of the animal in order to become more efficient and improve the absorption of nutrients and reduce the emission and manure of the animals. So this approach mimic the intestine of the animals in the lab, so we can fermentate or we can evolve a microbiome into the lab in order to be more efficient. Then we can dry this microbiome from the lab and put into the feed in order to reconfiguring the intestine of the animals. So yeah, basically, in the same way that the animal evolve with the pass of the generation, we are evolving or we are improving, adapting a new microbiomes to the precision diets. As many of you know, the animals has different needs of nutrients according to the age, according to the condition, but not all of the diet or all of the nutrients that we are offering to the animals go to the production of meat or to the growing of the animals. Many of those nutrients just pass through the animals and be excreted by manure or greenhouse gases. And this is something that we are figuring out how to solve, because we need to understand better the way that the bacteria and the microbiome works in the animals. So at this point, as I mentioned, we are mimic the intestine of the animals in a bioreactor in the lab in order to evolve that microbiome to become more efficient. this microbiome in the lab evolved into the more efficient one according with the diet at this specific stage of the animals. And once we make this adaptation of the microbiome, we can dry it, microencapsulate them to protect them, and then offer to the animal in order to maximize the for example, harmful molecules as antibiotics growth promoters to reduce antimicrobial resistance, or even to reduce the excretion or the production of greenhouse gases. So we combine 4 different technologies here. We use a very novel fermentation process when we cultivate a microbial community that we rename microbiome. This is the mimic part, when we mimic the gut of the animal. But then when we have this adapted microbiome, we microencapsulate them to protect against the thermal digestive process and the storage condition, because we will offer to the animal. Then we nourish the animal with this diet and with this microbiome, very tailor-made microbiome according with this diet. And we take data from the performance of the animal with genomic and machine learning algorithm in order to design better generation of microbiome and better prediction of the growing of the animals. So our business model is it's a simple one. We have alliance or very key accounts when we design a very customized additives, very customized microbiomes in order to improve the efficiency and reduce the emission in the production. We have been expanding around the world. Now we are present in 4 different countries. We have office in Colombia and in the Netherlands. What we are looking for is expanding in America, but also in Europe. And just to mention some important numbers that we are getting now. For example, in poultry, in beef and swine, we are replacing antibiotics growth promoters, even by complete, 100% in the production. And we are reducing the production of manure, even in 30%, it depends on the animal. We are also replacing part of the cereals that they are using, because we can reduce the use of grains and cereals and replace with more fibers. So, and this is very important thing, because we are having more efficient with a more evolution microbiome. So we can make that a monogastric animal has a microbiome energy from a raw material that is not common for them. So this is so important in our technology, because in the same way that the breed of animal or the race of animal are improving generation by generation, now we better genetic from the animal, from a performance side. We are in the same process evolving microbiomes to get more efficient, more developed microbiomes to maximize the absorption of nutrients, to replace harmful molecules, and to reduce the environmental impact, as the major production greenhouse gases, and even the reduction in cereals and grains to replace with more fiber. So at the end, we can produce more meat with less natural resources. This is part of what I want to share with you. I am open to answer any questions that you have, and thank you so much for your time.
So thank you, Mauricio, and thank you all the three panelists for this interesting presentation. So let's move to the discussion part. So we talk about the different, let's say, strategies or regulatory frameworks like the Haltum forms number 4, the Green Deal strategy from the EU. And I would like to know from the experts' perspective, are you thinking that this old regulatory framework is helping us to evolve to reach the sustainability needed in the livestock sector? Or what are the main, let's say, constraints towards this journey? So who wants to start?
Well, let me start again if you would like, Hilka.
Yes, please.
Of course, a lot of the parts which are mentioned in the Green Deal are really helpful challenges that itch us towards change and towards transformation. And we really do believe that we as a sector need to evolve and need to transform. However, what we really criticize and where we really see a problem is that this Green Deal narrative is linked to a way that a lot of politicians say it openly, want to make Europe not as a continent that feeds their people, but rather like let's call it a deli, a form of a deli producer continent. And this we cannot accept. We need to feed the people, and we need to set up efficient livestock systems that are related strongly to the environment and that are successful in the environment. And as Europe and Northern Europe being part of a very, very fertile land, we have the responsibility not to only produce as much as needed for our own people, but we need to produce and you need to exploit the potential in an environmental friendly and resource friendly way. But we need to exploit the potential of the specific regions that we have. This is what we strongly believe.
Thank you. Paul, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with an awful lot of what Mr. Schulze is saying, that absolutely there is a view to, specifically within Europe, that climate change is needed and required and urgent to meet our targets for 2030. I think from speaking to farmers and peers of my own, farmers are willing, actively engaging, trying to find solutions to their market, and the market is demanding, but as of yet not entirely willing to pay for. It's we've seen that the Haltung's form or the carbon regulations that are often linked to the CAP reform in 2023, there will be a lot of environmental stipulations and regulations, but that this is not often transferred over in terms of the extra costings that is demanding are not paid for by the market. And farmers are struggling to come up with solutions to address the carbon issue, address the animal welfare, address the market's demands, but within the restraints of not having to have any additional income. And this is quite difficult for farmers to produce. And like Mr. Schulze said, it's like a deli that Europe is becoming the garden for the rest of the world from a point of view of tourist farming rather than commercial farming. And we have seen in the energy sector that when food supply or energy supply comes into question, how vulnerable we really are as people. And the gas situation will hopefully resolve through innovation and extreme political and financial costs, but the same can be very quickly to happen in our food supply. And this could be accelerated also by the costs that have been passed on to the fertilizing market. And organic and low carbon farming are welcome, but when it comes to feeding people, it's there could be different priorities.
One of the outcomes of our first workshop on challenges in the industry was actually the or reflected on the growing dynamic and demand addressed to the farmer, what he needs to change, and Haltungsform 1 to 5 was actually a major part of that. And it was still a challenge and not clear how that can actually be evolved or be addressed, especially from the perspective of the customer and the willingness to pay for it. So yes, so as present as climate change is to us every day, it might become an abstract figure when you are at the point of sale and you need to decide which price you want to actually accept for this piece of meat. So what are your thoughts about actually the Haltungsformen, so the different Haltungsformen, and how that could actually be evolved, that it is either then reduced penalties or reduced tax payments for the Haltungsform, for the animal welfare classes that we like more, so 4 to 5, or is it rather a thing or potential that the cheaper production processes need to actually take some of their margin and hand it over to the production or producers and production processes of the higher grade regarding animal welfare? So where do you see the options in the ideal world?
Well, we live in the world we live, and we see that there is a strong consumer-citizen gap, as the scientists call it. So we do not see that the higher welfare standards are really like adopted by the market itself, and that the end consumers go for it. Specifically not in this time of life and with this heavy inflation. So there is definitely a risk. However, there are a concept in place, and it's clear that there are these demands by the society towards the farmers. At least it is addressed through the political parties in power. And in case there is change needed, there needs to be payment and payoff. And this is what is fundamental. And if it's not coming from the market, there need to be other ways to finance extra efforts that farmers are doing. And this is one of the key issues and key elements that is needed to develop and to set up transformation. The farmers are willing. They have the money, but the other thing is also they need to have the possibilities. And this is another point of Green Deal, but also German legislation, where we are still struggling, that there is legislation in place that is not really providing innovative farmers like Paul and many others to really change their barns and to develop then what we see is, and we cannot really understand how this comes, that there is no real decision towards really setting up planning standards and providing also planning stability for the farmers, that they know where to go for the next 10, 15 years. And this is the two major shortcomings that really enable a faster transition and a faster transformation of the sector.
Mm-hmm. So direct call to the regulation parties just to first of all decide for a set time frame, so that the partners that the farmers are actually able to reflect that and to actually convert their planning and their changes in their stable setup towards the regulation.
Well, I find that the time is already now. In terms of the CAP reform, these changes are inflicted on farmers rather than waiting for time to adopt them. The changes are occurring already. But and I see with the terms of the Haltungsform, the link between the customer and the Haltungsform. Yeah, it's not paid, and we see this occurring now in the organic milk market, where organic milk is now at times lower than conventional milk, and sometimes because there is a surplus supply of organic product that the customers are not willing to pay for. And there you have very quickly a big political push for carbon farming and for organic farming and high welfare farming. But what that effectively does is it floods a market that is not willing to absorb it and pay for it. And there's a problem is when you front load something like this, it can become quite expensive and often at the cost of the farmer.
So do you see a chance that actually the premium products are actually supported by the system in a way that they are not, there's no need to pay a premium for it? So that in the end, when you say organic milk is just, I mean, okay, it has a tag organic milk on it, but that with the support of the regulation and the setup, or even the transfer of producers that are not producing in the same quality, that there's actually a conversion of revenue.
Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, that there's a conversion of the margin of the higher emission products towards the more sustainable products, because what we see is that the customer is not willing to pay or not able to pay and is affected by external factors, and so the abstract figure of, yes, I need to do something good is not as present in the at the point of sale as it should have been. So I see it rather in other institutions on the value chain. But where do you see the potential of change there?
Well, I see that farmers are needing to be innovative, and that's why innovative ideas, in order to be sustainable, and the often forgotten aspect of sustainability is the commercial aspect, that all of these sustainable changes for welfare or for environmental aspects need to also be linked in line with the commercial aspects. And what we've done is, rather than changing to organic as a terms of which we see a lot of farmers are struggling to produce food, milk or pigs sustainably with these criteria, we have tried to produce a conventional product with a conventional pricing model, so that offer higher welfare standards by linking carbon farming such as biomethane or photovoltaic or high welfare, regionality, trying to find added value without occurring these frankly not sustainable practices, which is driving up the cost of production. And I've often said it with our dairy farm, we're not a bio farm, we're a commercial farm using fertilizer, using animal feed, but because of the welfare factor and the image it's producing, it's exactly what the customer is looking for, but it allows us to produce also commercially.
Good, thank you. So maybe we would like to also get a perspective from Mauricio as a technology developer. Where do you think challenges or the opportunities in this field after this talk, after the inputs provided by the other two experts?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, in this animal sector, we have very KPIs, is feed conversion ratio, is the amount of feed that the animal can transform into meat, for example. And through the years, we have seen how different animals, for example, poultry, pigs, or other, can even improve the feed conversion ratio every time. So yeah, we still have the opportunity using technology to keep improving the feed conversion ratio. One of the approaches is through the breed of the animal, to the race, to the genetic. But yeah, from the management, the precision nutrition, and even from the reconfiguring the microbiome, you will be able to keep improving the feed conversion ratio. And once in that way, when we are improving the feed conversion ratio, so we are even improving or reducing the excretion and reducing the greenhouse gases emission. So I understand completely the pressure in the farmer and all the regulation that sometimes the regulation works as a hurdle in the innovation process. Sometimes it's something to be more away from the innovation, and it will be the opposite. The regulation should boost the farmers and the industry to keep producing novel ideas and novel technologies. So I think sometimes the perspective of the government is more from the urban perspective than more from the farmer perspective. So we need more sensibilization, to be more connected with the reality, the opportunities, and the science, to bring science into the farmers. And that means a very high cooperation and coordination with different sectors. So, but I think we have opportunity to keep improving the sustainability or the transition to a more sustainable, equitable, and more efficient animal protein system.
I really like what you said, Mauricio, and it confirms also what Paul just said. We need to be efficient and not to go back to old systems, but to work on modernization and to be better. And it's not to become organic, and organic is not our goal. Our goal is climate efficient and smart livestock, and to reuse the resources as efficiently as possible. And we really believe in technology there, and I'm really happy to that people like you are working so hard on getting forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you. I think we are approaching the end of our talk today, and I would like you to close this webinar by maybe sharing in one sentence which change or just would you like, do you expect or you would like to see in the near future, so towards this to achieve a sustainable climate smart livestock.
Well, let me start again. One sentence. Animals are part of the solution and not the problem, and we need to get down boundaries to integrate efficiency, resource friendly, and animal welfare, and we will be able to do it if we work together.
So
Paul?
my sentence would be: farmers need options and not restrictions. And in terms we're actively looking for solutions to address climate. Imposing restrictions and obligations on us doesn't help the situation; it deteriorates it.
Okay. Can I say that technology has bring to this point of the story, and I think technology will be able to overcome the problem that we already have, or the challenge more than problems, but we need to work together from all the sectors and enable the possibility to innovate in this area.
Right, that is so true. So if I may add a vision as well, so I would really like to see that at the point of sale, the impact of the production of the food is actually reflected by the price the customer is seeing. So, and hopefully so that the innovation is able, that the innovation that does good is able to actually be refunded.
Okay, so I think I would like to thank you all our guests today, and thank you for your thoughts, sharing your experiences. And yes, I think this is a discussion that we will try as a part of the RootCamp, continue to promoting this kind of events, to promote dialogue and to foster collaboration within the livestock sector. So we could work together towards climate smart livestock. So thank you. We will, as I said before, we will write a blog post about this discussion. We will put the recordings there for people if they want to watch it again. And thank you again for being here. And we keep in touch and wish you a good rest of the day.